The story begins as Afro's father, holder of the #1 headband, is mercilessly taken down by the supervillain, Justice. His father tells him not to avenge his blood, but as we see him wearing the #2 headband years later, it's clear that Afro's thirst for revenge took over his sanity. They charge at him with continuous bullets firing from all sides, but Afro skillfully reflects all the crazy fast pellets back at the gunman, slicing the enemy's skulls in half. Afro is the last man standing. In this desolate state of events, his loyal Lakean friend Ninja brings life to the scene with his jokes and funny comments. Another thing that Lakey also notices is that an old monk-like dude is spying on Afro's murder rampage. Sitting in a tree, the monk relays what he's witnessed into a flip phone to what will later be revealed as the deadly cult of 7 Buddhist brothers. Soon enough, he steps into a bar for a well-deserved lemonade, but the samurai has to order it twice since the first one is wasted by a bigger fellow in the bar, who Afro takes down in a second. The attractive bartender tells Afro that Justice, his father's killer, has made his home on the top of Mount Shumi. With revenge and rage bubbling, Afro is set on reaching his new destination. As one would expect, the long journey comes with quite a few back-breaking obstacles. Crazy, bloodthirsty foes attack Afro with their deadly arrows and hand grenades. A member of the MT7 clan appears in his way and fires an RPG to blow up the mountain. We see an injured Afro fall down into limitless depths as the screen goes black. We make a trip back in time to when Afro was taken by a soft-hearted swordsman who cares for and trains many poor orphans. The children call him Master, and at his dojo, Afro becomes good friends with Gino and Otsuru. Afro taps into more of his cold-blooded persona as he takes human life for the first time in his psychopathic hunt for the owner of the #2 headband. His target's allies confront him later in a lethal sword fight, but there's no match for Afro's blade-swinging skills, taught to him by the Swordmaster. Traumatized by horrific distortions of his childhood memories, Afro gains consciousness to find himself in the caring arms of a beautiful young lady, Okiku. She tends to his wounds and makes him a tasty meal of trout, fish, and lemonade. They enjoy an affectionate moment watching fireworks, followed by a steamy love-making session. Appalling as it may sound, Okiku is actually not who she's portraying herself to be. She's Otsuru. In another shocking turn of events, Okiku's real intentions are revealed, and they are not good. She is extracting Afro's sword skills onto a phone for the MT7 clan. But she realizes that she can no longer go on with this evil plan and attempts to destroy the phone when suddenly a raging brother 2 crashes into the room with an army of cyborgs. Afro steps in to defend Okiku, but the foe kills her in return for her betrayal. As Afro holds his lover's dead body in his hands, the enemy takes off with the siphoned data. We then see Afro and his Lakey walking away from the burning farmhouse, adamant about continuing their journey to find the owner of the #2 headband. Afro has new challenges to face as new opponents stand in the way of his arduous goal. But this particular foe standing between him and his destination is nothing like he's ever seen before, except in a mirror, of course, because this foe is his doppelganger. As the two get ready to fight, the clone seems to mirror Afro's moves before our MC has even implemented them. After a few clashes, Afro is unfortunately on the losing side. All of a sudden, he recalls one of his master's teachings. The secret to defeating even the strongest of beasts is to tap into your subconscious mind and come up with brand new moves never used before. With newly gathered determination, Afro strikes his lookalike foe with new moves and deadly strikes. The doppelganger is not able to keep up with Afro's new agile advances. It ultimately meets its end. Witnessing the fallen soldier, the clan brothers blow off the entire bridge on which the two lookalikes were fighting to stop Afro from reaching their temple. Although they try to defend themselves, Afro kicks off all 7 brothers one by one. Just as we thought it was all over, the doppelganger makes a comeback. He's now half human, half cyborg, with a few new lethal upgrades. Programmed to take Afro's life, the clone fires lightning-fast laser beams and bullets toward our protagonist. But Afro is on his game and defends himself by reflecting the pellets and lasers right back at the foe. The fight dramatically shifts into the sky, with the two opponents showering blow after blow at each other. But Afro's final strike is too much for the cyborg, and he explodes. Poof! Gone! When Afro comes out of the temple from the other side to continue his journey, another ominous opponent is already waiting for him. Shockingly, this opponent's head is replaced by that of the same teddy bear Otsuru used to play with. Turns out our teddy nemesis is not an ordinary foe. He has something up his sleeve. Ninja is appalled when he takes out not one, but two swords. As Teddy Man advances towards him, all Afro does is hop around, dodging his moves. Ninja is flabbergasted as to why Afro does not defend himself with the sword. The reason for that is revealed in a flashback. The kids at the dojo, now grown up into teens, train for combat. The only person who prefers using two swords instead of one is Gino, Afro's best friend. Jimmo was always there to cheer up Afro and also had his back in a lethal sword fight with a group of assassins. One day, the two friends are sitting at their vegetable shop when a strange old passerby tells them that the owner of the number 2 headband lives in the same village and teaches young kids martial arts. Afro has a feeling that this just might be his own master. He questions his teacher about this dilemma after receiving his samurai sword. With the other students gathered around, the master tells him that he has two choices, which he must choose wisely. 1. Let go of his need for vengeance and live a peaceful life, or 2. Take the master's life and step on the path of retrieving the number 1 headband, which comes only with never-ending murder and violence. Out of nowhere, a group of raging bandits attacks the dojo members. Master does everything to protect his students, but the innocent lives suffer immense injuries. With the enemies defeated, only the master and Afro understanding the murderous look in the student's eyes, the teacher puts down all his defenses. Afro takes his life by slashing a sword through his body and tying the number 2 cloth around his forehead. Gino was there to witness the whole killing scene, but was rendered helpless due to his injuries. Before falling from a dangerous cliff, their voice full of agony and grief, he shouts at Afro that he will never forgive him for what he's done to their master. Seems like Gino is back for blood as he lunges forward with his sword at his teacher's killer, who stands spiritless, unresponsive to the oncoming attack. Time seems to go on forever as we find out that Afro, in fact, survives the attack. However, it comes at the cost of his trusty Lakey's life. Ninja stepped in between the two rivals, taking the fatal blow. Of course, watching his only friend die in front of him is not easy for our samurai. There's the smallest of cracks in his cold, hard exterior as some tears well up in his eyes. He's taken back to the past when Ninja had promised to stay by his side. As for Ninja, he's doing rather well, even in his last moments, as he continues to light a cigarette and leaves Afro with some advice. As soon as the heartfelt moment is over, Gino continues his attack. He attacks with confidence as he believes in the power of double grip and single blade. He strikes fast and fiercely, giving Afro little time to think or react. In between the clashes of sands, we're taken back to Gino's past, particularly when he's lying all injured and bleeding on the creepy docks table surrounded by the brothers. The flashes continue as we and early Gino come to terms with his new reality and carry out his first massacre, fully realizing just what kind of monster he has become. We soon find out that he has the rage and grief to match that of Afro, because even in his newfound reality, he doesn't forget what the old samurai did. We then switch back to the present as Gino continues to launch attack after attack against Afro, with each attack avenging his fallen comrades. However, just when you think Gino has it in the bag, something changes in Afro. Maybe it's the words kill or be killed. He gets up and takes out Gino in a single blow. With Gino defeated, the fight shifts between the first and second headband. Just as his appearance on screen doesn't come without a monologue, one about Afro's father and true power. He certainly knows where to strike, but Afro has had enough, and he goes for his sword. However, Justice proves to be faster than him, as before anyone knows it, he's shot our MC. This is when Justice reveals his plans for obtaining the number 2 headband in an attempt to become God. Afro pays little heed to his words and launches an attack, which is soon followed by a series of fast-paced, action-packed back and forth between the two rivals. Even though it looks like Justice may have had the upper hand with his regenerating body parts, Afro draws from his father's fight and goes straight for the lethal kill. Or at least that's what we think, until Justice slashes right through Afro's skull. For a moment, the scene goes quiet and the audience struggles to make sense of what happened. But our MC ain't dying that easy. He comes back and puts Justice in his place. After the fight, there's a time skip, and we see Afro and Gino gearing up to battle one another, because the battle never ends.